the non-cyanide electroplating technology, the refrigerant recovery machine for R13 4A, the low-fat sugar ice cream. So nowadays, I think everybody is conscious about what they're eating. So there is what we call the low-fat, low-sugar ice cream developed by one of the agencies of the DOST, and now I think in the market. The aseptic packaging and processing of tropical food and the vegetable juice blends. Again, this is something that we should look at in terms of halal product requirement has been addressed. Okay. So the youngest member of the DOST system is the Technology Resource Center. It used to be the Technology Livelihood and Resource Center, and this is another agency of DOST that offers joint ventures for technology transfer and commercialization. It has a technology-based business incubation program, which I mentioned earlier, that they are in charge of the open source TBI at the UP Diliman system. In fact, there is still vacancy in terms of tenancy who want to avail of the business incubation for IT. And then we have the technology and livelihood development centers and the training services. So TRC is offering technical training and services to those who wanted to avail of some technologies, learning the how-tos on how to produce a specific product. Just very recently, I think it was only yesterday that we heard that the technology transfer bill has been approved at the Senate level. So after 2 years of working and having it approved at the lower house, the upper house now has considered our technology transfer bill. Hopefully soon enough, it will become a law. And what are the salient provisions of this bill? For us who is in the science community, this is a very important bill because when this bill will be passed into law, our IP rights and ownership will be protected in addition to our IPO office. The revenues sharing will be part of the law. In fact, I think we can even use later. And then the spin-off company is part of it. Okay, those who have been using the technology can now spin off the technology so that it becomes a larger scale of production. And the use of revenue from IP commercialization. So that's why I think it is very important for us, researchers and the science community, to be able to apply for patent for any patentable inventions, copyright, or trademark, so that when there is a franchising or licensing, revenues out of this IP commercialization could be used for other activities that a research agency and SUCs or any researchers have in mind for their MOE activities. So we hope that in a very near future, this bill will be transformed into a law so that our technology transfer will really create wealth from the R&D results. I think that, okay. So earlier, I think I would not delve on this too much because I guess early this morning, IP has been dealt very extensively by our friends from the Intellectual Property Office. But just the same, countries with strong intellectual property have proven to be the most prosperous. I have been talking to some friends from India, and for every activity they do, even in Australia when the Director Laidan and I was there, for anything that they develop, they patent this. For any trademark that they use, they put a TM. And for every manuscript or any systems that they develop, it is copyrighted, and they make money out of this. So that the saying that countries with strong intellectual property are proven to be most prosperous. So let's work for it too. And weakening intellectual property protection will not just hurt the economy now, it undermines our future. So I guess here you can see the need for IP policy. There should be a collaborative work among government and the private sector, the inventors, the sponsors, the universities, and the industries, and those who collaborate with us, so that a critical to fostering innovation, IT is one of the factors for it. The IP value chain, I think this has also have been discussed. Innovation is the word now, so that the idea that we captured, those that had been reviewed and recycled, will go into a portfolio management, patent and IP protection, towards and leading to commercialization, so that the financial tracking could be evaluated and looking at licensings and other agreements against the IP. So from R&D commercialization, we can see that Technicom provides funding assistance. It provides assistance for prototype development, testing, and validation. A lot have been said about this. And the R&D concept, no? The demand for a cheaper alternative for imported, an example of wood moisture meter, and a lot more which has been developed, no, is now on the market. I just attended the TechMark in Vietnam, and we bring this moisture meter and some other food products there, and I saw that it create a market within the ASEAN region, and therefore IP really and the Technicom assistance plays a very important role. So from commercialization, we look at some examples like the MIRDC. We have mentioned about the electroplating technology, how it became, and now in the commercialization stage. And for us to be able to avail of the DOST financing and some assistance from the program that I have mentioned, we should think of this checklist so that we don't get any what shall I call this, any false hopes in the future. Let's look always at the national program so that proposals that we submitted to DOST for funding and for assistance are within the priority areas mentioned. Let us look at the good science of it. Let us also see that there is a counterpart funding, because our policy now is any R&D activity should go with the private sector, who will later on become the partner and the users and adopter of the technologies being developed out of the R&D. And we look at the head endorsement. It is always necessary that proposals should be endorsed by the higher ups of any agency or universities for that matter. And of course, it is very important that documentations are complete for prior assessment and to be tabled for our EXECOM approval. The realities are, there are forms and templates to be filled up. There are reports necessary if you have avail of the DOST GIA funding. It has to be submitted quarterly, annual, and terminal. For completed projects, we need technical reports and financial report. The audited financial report, it's so bureaucratic, but it is a requirement. The bidding and other administrative work required for any equipment that be procured. The absorptive capacity of the researcher is very, very vital. You see, there are a lot of money going around for R&D, but we need to find out whether an institution or whether a university or a group of individual have the absorptive capacity to make use of the money in terms of R&D. And then, of course, there is always the COA, rules and regulations and memo that we should abide with. So with that, I'd like to thank you for your attention.